10 years ago, could you imagine TSA be grabbing your genitals, sticking their hands down your pants? 10 years ago, could you imagine Chicago school districts won't let parents pack their own kids' lunches because, quote, they can't be trusted? 10 years ago, would you imagine in Oak Park, Michigan, that a woman couldn't put some little plant boxes in her front yard and grow some vegetables? There's not even a law. And then when she beat them, because of public pressure, they came back with a no dog license charge from earlier harassment. They came back with old harassment. And I'm going to have her tell you that story now. This is harassment. This was from previously when she was fighting and they tried a no dog license thing on her. She went and paid that, did all that. Now they're back. Even after she was in court a month ago, they're back. And she now joins us. Julie Bass, thank you for joining us. You are the garden terrorist.
Apparently I am. I want to say thank you so much for having me, and thank you to your listeners. They've been among the most vocal spokespeople in my defense, and they're all over the internet in my corner, and I just really, really want to thank you guys for that.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, we have the best listeners on the planet because they're active, they're angry, they're awake. They realize that in North Korea, if you're not in one of their slave camps, you're allowed to have a garden in your front yard. In fact, you're ordered to. So now we have surpassed North Korea in this area.
It looks like, yeah. And the garden charge, just to be clear, they've only dismissed it without prejudice, which means they can actually bring it back anytime they want. And the prosecutor said he wants more time to review the ordinance.
Oh, yes.
Which kind of left us, you know, with the impression that it might be coming back also.
Okay, so briefly break down, because reading your blog, let me give folks the name of that, Oak Park Hates Veggies, .wordpress.com. To be clear, this was already part of the previous harassment when you wouldn't get rid of the evil vegetable garden. Oh, we saw a dog over your fence. And so you'd already gone and submitted to them on this. Now they're back.
Yeah. We showed the proof when we went the first time to court. The prosecutor asked us if we had taken care of it. And I showed him the licenses. I showed him the confirmation from the city, the official stamps, the receipts, everything. And he said, okay, and he marked something down in the paper. And it wasn't brought up when we went in front of the judge. Nobody said anything. Nobody said anything at any later date. And then when they sort of, under the radar, did this weird dismissal of the garden charge, the same day they decided they would reinstate these 2 misdemeanor charges of not having current dog licenses.
Well, I want to be clear. I've got dogs that don't have dog licenses. A license is authorization to do something that would otherwise be illegal. They've been found unconstitutional time and time again. But this really shows the chicken, well, I don't want to use there's a term for chicken you-know-whats that behave like this. I mean, this is the most petulant, low-down, slimy, control-freakish, bad PR. Your neighbors love the wicked garden. I mean, who are these people?
Oh, boy, I wish I even knew who was driving it. I mean, the people that I've had contact with directly from the city have been really, really nice and really, really personable. And then all of a sudden, at every turn, they've just dug in their heels and done these irrational things and just...
Have you heard of Agenda 21? Because under the UN, you've got to get permission to literally breathe. You've got to pay them taxes. And gardening is something they want to shut down. Have you heard of that UN Global Standardization Program?
You know what? I've heard of it, but I haven't really researched it properly. So
well, that's what this is. So continuing now, you're facing what? I mean, now they're back with these charges. We're all going to be safer once you're behind bars.
So now it's actually 2 misdemeanors, each 93 days of jail time, instead of the 1 misdemeanor on the garden charge originally.
Even though when they were trying to harass you with this earlier for the gardening, they threw the dog thing at you, you went and paid it. Now, again, these people aren't stupid. They've got to know that in the law that if they accepted you already once in court, that you went and got the license, that it isn't an issue. I mean, this is starting to look like a civil rights violation, a RICO Act. I mean, this is starting to really get into your civil rights here. These people are really dangerous.
It's definitely starting to make us uneasy. It's definitely, starting to kind of creep us out and make us a little paranoid, thinking there's, something behind every rock. But, we're trying to keep our heads straight and stay focused. And
why don't you vote with your feet? I mean, it's not letting them run you out, but why don't you pull out of Dodge and say, look, let Michigan collapse or let that town collapse and go somewhere where they don't think that's North Korea?
We've thought about it, and people have written on the blog about places where they live that are much more person-friendly. If it was as simple as just the choice to pick up and move and we're independently wealthy and we could just buy a house somewhere else,
No, I understand. No. I mean, look, it's good to stand and fight too. I'm just thinking about that option. It's good to take your money away from these vampires. See, if vampires, if parasites don't have anybody to suck off of, they shrivel up and blow away. Please continue. So now you're facing new charges retroactively. I think it's time for you to file suit for civil rights harassment, official oppression against these people. I think once you start personally suing the heads of these departments, I think it's going to give them a little bit of reality check.
It might be. I'm not really sure what the specifics of the law is. I know that my lawyers, looked into some different things, which she doesn't want me to discuss the specifics of, but I'm going to just say that it's something that we're definitely considering.
Well, it's best to attack. I mean, they might even beat the rap. They're not going to beat the ride. It's best to attack globalists. It's best to get in their face. It's
right.
best to let...
defense is a good offense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're thinking about that. We're starting to... it's hard when you're a nice person.
Let me tell you how to get them. Let me tell you how I get them in here in Austin.
Okay.
They were giving old people, they've got some database, especially if you're in a city hospital, as we tracked it and confirmed it. If you've had a heart attack or cancer and you live on a wealthy, a piece of property they want, they will start giving you $3,000, $2,000 a day fines for 3-inch grass. Oh. I then just went around to all the city council members' houses and found grass higher. And at that time, put it on Access TV. Today, it'd be YouTube. And it was actually cops that gave me the intel, good cops that didn't like me in order to go, arrest people that didn't pay fines. Right. And so that's how you handle these people, is that you go show city places. You start following city council people after work. Anybody that would do this is going to be involved in corruption. You'll instantly catch them in evil.
Mm-hmm. Not a bad idea.
Let me tell you, anybody that would do stuff like this is bad news. First, you've got to find out, Julie Bass, who's running this. We know they're following a global UN agenda. They want to slap you around, let you know you're a prisoner. It's gang initiation into their system. Stay there. I want to hear any other little tidbits you want to add. On the other side, we're talking to a very evil person, ladies and gentlemen. She grew tomatoes. During the break, I was asking the garden bandit, the lady that tried to grow some tomatoes and other evil things in her yard up in Oak Park, Michigan, I was asking her how this started. And she said, well, I think it started when I called the zoning people to ask permission or to see if there was any rule. And they said, well, here's the rules. It doesn't say there aren't any rules that you can't, but since nobody's ever done it before, you can't do it. And so I guess that's how this started. And they don't care. They want to punish her. Then they threw charges. You don't have licenses for your dogs. She went and paid that in court, done. Now it's back. So it just illustrates how out of control these people are. And I guess they don't care if the town gets a bad reputation. As bureaucrats, they'll just move to the next town after your town's falling apart. After all, Michigan isn't doing too well. They're talking about bulldozing half of Detroit and turning it into one big giant garden. But I guess that doesn't fit into their plan. Julie?
Yeah. No, it's funny because Detroit, which is just falling to pieces, is actually having this whole greening of Detroit movement and all these urban gardens and community gardens and really starting to make a comeback in certain areas because of these types of initiatives. But Oak Park apparently wants to be, Detroit of 1969.
Tell us what type of evil terrorist you have growing in your yard.
Well, in addition to the tomatoes, I have some criminal cucumbers. I have some, bad green peppers. I know I have chives. I should barely even say that on the radio because it's so offensive. I do have one strawberry plant.
Whoa. Do you have a license for that, ma'am? Is that semi-automatic or fully auto?
I think it's a fully locked and loaded strawberry plant. Yeah.
Oh, man. Folks, I apologize for bringing people on like this.
I know. I shouldn't say that in case there are children listening.
There's FCC, ma'am. You're probably going to prison for this. Meanwhile, have you heard the Justice Department got caught shipping tens of thousands of guns, not just to drug gangs in Mexico, but in Miami and Chicago to destabilize everything?
Didn't hear it, but it's not dissimilar to other things that I've heard at other times. So.
Well, what's wrong with them shipping guns directly to the drug dealers so they can then blame the Second Amendment and take my guns? Well, I'm worried about your strawberries. So we got cucumbers. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're in deep trouble for that. You got evil tomatoes. You've got strawberries, and then you've got some herb garden. I've actually had one of those at a house I had in my front yard. Nice little pretty herb garden. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm evil too. So what else happened? Anything else growing in these little boxes?
Miscellaneous. We have some zucchini. We have some peas. We have I don't know, some red peppers. We have a jalapeno plant. Nothing too scandalous.
But you're making it a little worse for yourself. So basically you got heroin, cocaine, PCP, LSD.
No, worse, are you kidding? If I had those drugs, I could get a prescription for it. But these tomatoes are just over the top. No,
but I'm saying each one of those plants is so evil. Well, ma'am, actually, look into Agenda 21. Look into the new rural czar.
Okay.
The rural council, where they admit the government's going to... They're trying to pass the Food Safety Act last year, written by Big Agra, that would openly not allow you to even prepare those onions for your neighbor. It would be hard felony jail time if you fed those strawberries or onions to a neighbor. Now, I hope you understand that we're keeping an eye on you now.
Right. Well, we're trying to keep our criminal activity to ourselves. We're not offering anything to the neighbors. You know, I'm a little nervous about feeding the vegetables to my kids, since they're obviously so contaminated with, bad intentions.
Well, maybe if they were GMO with some, insect DNA that would sterilize them, then it'd be okay. Yeah, well, then I could give a kickback to Monsanto, and I'd be golden, right? I'd be paid off. Well, exactly. This is a brave new world where, listen, our owners don't. I mean, do you think a prisoner's allowed to have a garden? Let me ask you that question, Julie Bass. I would be hard-pressed to say that there aren't some prisoners that actually are encouraged to have gardens somewhere in this world. but I'm saying, you're in a supermax, though. You're not. You think somebody in a supermax. Right. You think Tim McVeigh was allowed to have a garden? Yeah, no, I think all people like me that can't be trusted should probably not be allowed to have things like dirt at their disposal. It's very insidious. Well, pretty close to you, Chicago doesn't let parents pack lunches for their kids. I know. I about fell off my chair when I heard that. Why, because it was so reasonable? Exactly, because I thought they should have done it way sooner, because parents are obviously having the worst intentions possible with their children. Well, the Pentagon runs a $2.5 million program with AI computers watching kids eat lunch as they cancel a 300-plus year ferry in Connecticut because of budget cuts. There's $2 million per school, $2.5 million down there per school to have the Pentagon watch kids eat their lunch. What's wrong with the Pentagon watching kids? Next, you're going to tell me you don't like the TSA. No, I got to say on the radio that I love the TSA, because otherwise they're going to come banging down my door later today. Well, actually, they do, without warrants now, have the Department of Education has its own SWAT teams for late payment of bills, and they're actually setting poorhouses back up and debtor prisons again. It's not legal, but whoever said it needed to be. Julie Bass, so you're facing 2 charges, 93 days apiece, and I guess you're going to be leaving your family now. I guess, well, that's good. I hope it really doesn't come to that. Joking aside, I hope that everything works out, to the right way. But, it's, now that it's becoming more insidious and more spooky, and they're doing everything in this more sneaky way, it's making me afraid in ways that I wasn't really afraid before. Well, listen, here's the deal. They know the whole nation's watching, and have you seen A Bug's Life for the grasshoppers? Say, hey, boss, we got plenty of food. Why boss the ants around? And he said, if you let one ant stand up to you, they might all stand up. This is about breaking our will. It's an attitude of these people. It's happening all over the country. And if I was in your position, and I've publicly said I don't have dog licenses, they can put me in jail. I think that you should let it be a media circus, let them throw you in jail, and let them show everybody just how Stalinistic they are so we can get our country back. And I think it's now time to say no. Just like black folks started saying, you know what, I'm not riding at the back of the bus. And people said, how dare her, break the law. Well, your law is a fraud. I'm Rosa Parks. I'm not sitting at the back of the bus. Well, you're Julie Bass. I'm growing a garden in my yard, control freaks. And if you want to try to pass a law to make it illegal, that'll be unconstitutional, but then I might even follow it. You don't even have a law. We forget to even mention that part. Yeah, no, that's important to remember, is that there is no law, there is no ordinance that says that anything that I'm doing is wrong, that there's never been an ordinance that says anything I'm doing is wrong, and I went ahead and asked permission first. So that's, not pointing in a good direction as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, but when he told you better not, there's not a law, but you better not, then you said, well, there's not a law, I'll do it. You don't. Listen, this is about having power. See, people that are powerful don't want power. People that aren't powerful want power. That's the paradox. Thank you for watching hangmansnews.com.